The dining room sparkled like a picture from a magazine. Glass table shining, napkins folded just right, a soft glow from the chandelier overhead. But the air was tight. Alyssa could feel it the moment she stepped in, holding baby Micah close to her chest. It had been months since she'd seen them all together. Her parents, her sister Monica, Monica's husband James, Aunt Linda. They smiled when she walked in, but it didn't reach their eyes. "Oh, look who finally decided to show up," Monica said, hugging her stiffly. Micah squirmed in Alyssa's arms, sensing something wasn't right. She kissed the top of his head and forced a small smile. "He's just a little sleepy." They sat at the table. Chicken, rice, salad. Everything looked perfect, too perfect. For a while, they made small talk, work, the weather, Monica's new SUV. Alyssa mostly stayed quiet, bouncing Micah gently on her knee, but she could feel it building, something waiting to break through the fake smiles. Then, Monica tilted her head, peering at Micah like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. "He's a unique-looking child, isn't he?" Alyssa blinked. "Excuse me? I just mean, his hair, his eyes. Doesn't really look like either of us, right?" Monica said, turning to their mother with a grin. Their father cleared his throat and cut his chicken. "We all make mistakes when we're young," he said flatly, not looking up. Alyssa felt her face get hot. "Micah is not a mistake." There was silence. Then Aunt Linda leaned in, smiling like she wasn't about to throw a grenade. "So, who's the father, dear?" Alyssa's jaw tightened. "That's not something I want to talk about right now." James let out a quiet laugh and muttered, "You'd think she'd know who he is before having a baby." It was soft, but loud enough. Laughter followed, thin, forced, mean. Alyssa felt something rise up in her chest. Her hands were shaking, but she reached into her bag. "I wasn't going to do this tonight," she said, placing a thick, sealed envelope in the center of the table, right beside the bread basket. "But since you're all so curious about my child, go ahead, read this." The room went still. The laughter died. She stood up, holding Micah close. No one moved. Alyssa didn't look back as she walked toward the door. Fade to black. 1 year ago, Alyssa's life looked completely different. She was on track to finish law school, already working part-time at a respected legal firm. Everyone said she had a bright future. She was the calm one in the family, the dependable one, the one who never raised her voice. Her parents always said she made them proud. She was engaged to David then. They'd been together for almost 4 years. He wasn't perfect, but she trusted him. She thought she knew him. Then it all crashed. One evening after work, Alyssa came home to find David gone. No warning, no goodbye, just a short, cold message. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore." A week later, she found out why. Monica, her own sister. The news hit her like a brick to the chest. Her sister hadn't even denied it. "It just happened," Monica had said. "You and David weren't working anyway. That was all." Alyssa tried to talk to her parents. She was heartbroken, betrayed, confused. But instead of comfort, they told her to calm down. "Don't be dramatic. Things like this happen. You've always been a bit sensitive." They chose Monica. Again and again, they chose Monica. Then came the second blow. Alyssa found out she was pregnant. She hadn't planned for it. She wasn't ready. She stared at the test for what felt like hours, alone in her silent apartment. When she told her parents, there was no joy, no support, just awkward silence and tired sighs. Her father said, "Well, this is what happens when you make bad choices." Her mother cried and said she hoped it wasn't David's. Monica said nothing. 2 months later, Monica married David, a wedding by the lake. Alyssa didn't go. She wasn't invited. She moved out of the family home, found a tiny 1-bedroom apartment near her job, and kept going. Each morning, she dragged herself to work, keeping her head down, trying not to cry in front of her co-workers. Each night, she came home to her quiet space, her growing belly, and no one else. When Micah was born, it was just her and the nurse in the delivery room. No visitors, no flowers, no phone calls from home. Still, she managed. Diaper by diaper, sleepless night by sleepless night, she figured things out. She didn't go back to school, not yet, but she worked full-time at the law firm. Her bosses were tough, but they noticed her work. They liked her. She started to believe in herself again, just a little. Micah gave her purpose, his laugh, his tiny fingers, the way he curled against her chest. He didn't care about the past. He didn't know about betrayal. He just needed her, and she was there. So when her mother called out of the blue 2 weeks ago, Alyssa almost didn't answer. but something told her to pick up. "It's time," her mother said. "Let's put all this behind us. Come to dinner. Bring the baby." Alyssa almost said no, but something inside her, something calm, steady, said yes. She wasn't going for them. She was going for herself. She wasn't the same girl who had cried alone in a hospital room. Not anymore. The day before the dinner, Alyssa came home from work, carrying Micah in one arm and a bag of groceries in the other. The mailbox was stuffed, mostly bills and flyers. But one small square box stood out, plain, no return address, just her name written neatly in black ink. She brought it inside and opened it on the kitchen counter, setting Micah down in his playpen. Inside was a DNA test kit. No note, no explanation. Her first instinct was to throw it in the trash. It felt like a prank, or maybe a cruel joke. But then she paused. Micah had always looked different, not in a bad way, just not like David. People said babies change, that it was too soon to tell. But sometimes, when Alyssa looked into his eyes, hazel, not brown, she wondered. She went to the drawer and pulled out a small plastic bag she'd almost forgotten about. Inside was David's old toothbrush. She didn't even know why she kept it. Maybe some part of her hadn't let go. Alyssa took a deep breath. "Just to be sure," she whispered, as if saying it out loud made it safer. She followed the instructions carefully and mailed the test the next morning. Days passed. She didn't tell anyone. She tried not to think about it. When the results arrived, she was alone. Micah was napping. She opened the email on her phone with sweaty hands. 99.99%, not a match. David wasn't the father. Her stomach flipped. For a moment, the room spun. She sat down hard on the couch, phone still in her hand. She read the result again, and again, until the words blurred. If not David, then who? Her mind jumped back. One night she barely remembered. Monica's birthday party. She'd had too much to drink. She had been crying, heartbroken. James offered her a ride home. She remembered getting into his car. She remembered crying. After that, nothing. Just a blank space. Alyssa's chest tightened. She felt sick. It couldn't be. She searched the test report again. The test included a potential match database. One suggested a close paternal connection. James. She sat there frozen, trying to breathe. Her hands shook. Everything she thought she knew twisted into something ugly. She didn't want to believe it. She didn't want it to be true. But the numbers were right there. She printed the report, folded it neatly, and placed it into a new envelope. She sealed it without looking again. She stared at it for a long time. Tomorrow was dinner. And now she had something to bring. For a moment, after Alyssa placed the envelope on the table, no one moved. The silence was loud. Monica blinked, then narrowed her eyes. "What is this supposed to be?" she asked, voice sharp. Alyssa didn't sit down. She held Micah steady on her hip, her voice calm. "You wanted to know who his father is, so I'm giving you the answer." Monica scoffed and reached for the envelope. She ripped it open, unfolded the paper quickly, and stared at it. Her face changed. The color drained from her skin. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came. "What is it?" James asked, reaching across the table. Monica didn't speak. She just slid the paper across to him with shaking hands. James read it. His eyes darted across the page, then back again. "No," he whispered. This can't be real." He looked up at Alyssa, blinking fast. "Is this some kind of joke?" Alyssa didn't flinch. "It's not a joke. This is fake," Monica snapped, her voice rising. "She made this, printed it off the internet. You can't just come in here with some paper and—" "It's real," Alyssa said. "I sent in a DNA test. It came back 2 days ago." James stood, knocking over his chair. I don't remember anything like that happening." "Neither do I," Alyssa said quietly. "That's the worst part." Their father slammed his hand on the table. "That's enough." Everyone jumped. "You came here just to cause drama," he said to Alyssa, voice cold. "To ruin this family. You've always been the emotional one. You think the world's out to get you. And now you're dragging your child into this mess." Alyssa turned to him, her face still calm. "You destroyed this family the day you told me to stop being dramatic about being cheated on. You chose Monica. You let her marry my fiancé. And now you're angry because I told the truth." Monica stood too, face red. "You did this on purpose. You were jealous. You've always been jealous of me. You probably seduced James just to get back at me." Alyssa laughed. It was sharp and bitter. "I was drunk, crying in the back seat of his car. I don't even remember what happened. Do you really think I wanted this? You think I wanted to carry his child alone while you planned your wedding?" Her mother broke down in tears. She covered her face. sobbing quietly at the table. James stepped toward Monica. "Monica, please. I didn't know. I didn't even realize." She slapped him, hard. "Don't touch me," she said. "You disgust me." James stood frozen, one hand on his cheek, eyes wide. Alyssa looked at her father again. "You said Micah was a mistake, that I made bad choices. But I didn't make this child alone. I just handed you the proof." Her voice didn't shake. Her hands didn't tremble. The calm in her made them all uneasy. Nobody said anything. No one even breathed. Alyssa kissed the top of Micah's head, then stepped away from the table. "I didn't come here for forgiveness," she said. "I came to end the silence." She walked toward the door. Behind her, the room stayed still, broken, stunned, silent, and she didn't look back. 1 week after the dinner, Monica filed for divorce. It was quiet, fast, and without warning. She didn't call Alyssa. She didn't speak to the family. She just went to the courthouse and signed the papers. James, on the other hand, started reaching out to Alyssa. He sent a long message the next day. "I just want to talk. I want to be there for Micah. I had no idea. I swear I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Alyssa didn't answer. She forwarded the message to her lawyer. The lawyer replied to James directly. "If you truly want to be a part of Micah's life, start by taking a court-ordered paternity test. Then file for legal custody. Anything less is just talk." James never responded. A few days later, Alyssa heard a knock at her door. It was her father. He stood in the hallway, holding a white envelope and a grocery bag. "I brought some things," he said. "Figured you could use help." Alyssa opened the door, just wide enough to see his face, but not enough to invite him in. "I don't need anything," she said. He sighed and handed her the envelope anyway. "There's money in there. For Micah. For you." She didn't take it. "You only believe me now that Monica's marriage is gone." He looked tired. "I made mistakes." "You all did." He looked past her, trying to spot Micah. "You've changed, Alyssa. You're different, cold." She met his eyes. "Number, I'm just no longer afraid to speak." He stood there for a second longer, then slowly stepped back. "If you ever want to talk," he said. She didn't answer. She closed the door gently. That night, after Micah was asleep, Alyssa sat on the edge of her bed in the dark. She stared at her phone. Old voicemails blinked in her inbox. She played one from David, his voice fake soft, apologizing for everything and hoping they could stay friends. Delete. Another from Monica, laughing like nothing had happened. "You need to stop being so emotional, Alyssa. Life moves on." Delete. A third, from her mother the day Micah was born. She hadn't picked up back then. The voicemail had said, "We're praying for you." Delete. One by one, she cleared them all. The room felt lighter. She lay back on the bed, her arms behind her head, the quiet wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She had never felt so free. 3 months passed. Alyssa now lived in a bigger apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it had space. Micah had his own room, filled with books and soft toys. The windows let in golden light every morning, and for the first time in a long while, Alyssa felt like she could breathe. Work had changed too. Her boss called her into the office one morning and handed her a letter. Promotion, higher pay, more responsibility. "You've earned it," he said. She had. James never filed for custody. After his first message, he disappeared. No visits, no paperwork, no calls, just silence. Monica posted something vague online about betrayal and losing everything because of jealous people. Alyssa saw it once, rolled her eyes, and never looked again. One day, while scrolling through social media, she saw a photo of her parents, Aunt Linda and Monica, at a family dinner. She wasn't invited. They didn't mention her. She didn't care. In fact, she smiled. Her world was smaller now, quieter, but it was hers. That evening, she sat on the couch with Micah tucked into her lap, his tiny fingers flipping pages of a picture book. She read slowly, pausing to do the funny voices he liked. Micah laughed, that soft, pure laugh that made everything else disappear. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "You saved me. You gave me a reason to survive." He looked up and grinned, showing 2 small teeth. Alyssa didn't need applause. She didn't need her family's approval. She had Micah. She had peace. And that was enough. The park was quiet that afternoon. The breeze was soft, and the trees swayed gently in the sunlight. Alyssa sat on a bench, sipping from a small bottle of water, watching Micah stumble through the grass with wobbly steps. He giggled as he chased a butterfly, arms out, falling and getting up again without a fuss. A woman nearby, sitting with a baby stroller of her own, smiled and said, "He's beautiful. He has your strength." Alyssa turned to her, surprised. "Thank you," she said with a gentle smile. Then she added, "He has a story he'll never know, but it gave me mine." The woman nodded, not needing an explanation. Alyssa looked back at Micah, now crouched near a flower, babbling to himself. His joy was simple, his world was light, and that made hers feel the same. Her phone buzzed in her bag. She took it out and saw the name. "Dad, we miss you. Come home." She stared at the message for a second, then quietly hit delete. No reply, no second thought. She stood up and walked across the grass to Micah. He saw her coming and squealed with laughter. Arms up, she lifted him, kissed his cheek, and held him close. The sunlight followed them as they walked away. Alyssa didn't look back.